And if, like when we say poor dudes, I mean I almost put myself like closer to their circumstances than anyone in the upper class. So
Yeah, I'm in the fake middle.
yeah, yeah, the non-existent middle.
I'm in the pretend middle.
You're in the lower middle.
I'm gonna be the guy in the basement in a few years. That's the way I'll put it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Hey, El Toddo.
What's going on?
We got a podcast, The Buff and the Blazer. If I was a listener, where would I go to find more?
You can check us out on our website, thebuffandtheblazer.com. Drew over there writes a article that goes along with every single episode.
You can find all kinds of little extras on the articles, and you can listen to the podcast right there. Also, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, we're on Twitter at Buff and Blazer. Follow us there.
Get those clicks, people.
The Buff and the Blazer.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Buff and the Blazer podcast, episode 12. As always, I'm Drew, and I'm joined with El Toddo.
Yo.
And this episode, we're talking about Parasite, directed by Bong Joon-ho. And I'm sure a lot of you have heard of this film. It's gotten a lot of hype. El Toddo, what were your initial thoughts?
Initial thoughts of the movie. It had quite a bit of hype.
A lot of hype.
Winning the Academy Award. I think I watched a trailer, but it didn't really give anything away.
Yeah.
Of the plot or anything of the movie.
Right.
And it had quite the challenge of, living up to the level of 1917 and Jojo Rabbit.
Right.
In the mind frame that I saw the movie, because now we're doing this podcast, we're reviewing stuff. I was like, okay, this better be the greatest movie ever made if it beat these movies. And at the end of the movie, I was actually not just at the end. Throughout the whole movie, I was super engaged and really into the story. And coming out of the movie, I understand why it won. It's completely unique in terms of construction and plot line. There's not really a protagonist and not really an antagonist. It's just all over the map in terms of being one of a kind style of movie. Yeah. And every little aspect of the movie landed really well with me. And coming out of the movie, I was just like, okay, I understand why it won. Yeah. I do think Jojo Rabbit was probably a smidge better. Uh-huh. But this movie was fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I'm right there with you. So going into it, I mean, the film's already available on streaming and everything, but...
So this is a full-blown gloves-off episode. Yeah. No, we're not going to...
We're going to go deep into spoilers.
We're going deep. We got to give spoilers because this movie is too good not to drill nice and deep into it.
So if you haven't seen it, click pause and go watch it and then come back. But we're going to get deep into this film. So yeah, the hype around Parasite was huge. All I'd ever heard from people I follow, from outlets that I follow, was, there's this Korean film, Parasite, and it's one of the best films of the year. So okay, so I heard all this stuff. So, and then on top of that, it won the Academy Award for Best Picture. So I sat down and I'm like, there's no way this film can be as good as Jojo Rabbit or 1917. Jojo Rabbit is my favorite film of 2019. So
it's one of my favorite films ever.
Yeah, so this movie had a lot to accomplish. And surprisingly, at the end of it, yeah, I also totally understand why it got so much praise. It's a lot of people give Hollywood films a lot of crap because they're not original. People say we're living in a sequel era, and everything's a sequel or everything's a comic book movie. There's no creativity in Hollywood anymore. A film like this puts all that crap to rest. Like, this is one of the most unique, interesting films I've seen in a long time. And I haven't quite seen anything like it. The characters are really interesting. The story is incredibly unique and really interesting. And like you, there's this quality the film has of just completely sucking you into it. And that's with the subtitles. Like, you're there constantly reading subtitles. And despite all that, you're still really engaged. And it's just something really hard for you to take your eyes off of. Yeah, I loved how unpredictable the story was. It takes you in directions that you're not expecting. And you feel like you're getting one film in the beginning, and then it turns into something totally different. And I really appreciated that. And that's a testament to the director, Bong Joon-ho, again. Like, massive shout out. This dude deserves all the praise he's been getting. But yeah, so I mean, for me, it met and probably exceeded a lot of my expectations.
Yeah, I don't know if it exceeded my expectations because I was expecting it to be totally great, and it was.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed that it was set in Korea.
Yeah.
And it was so just different from everything we see here in the States.
Yeah.
It didn't follow all of these, old stories that we have in the kind of Western tradition, these same stories that get recycled a million different ways.
Yeah.
This doesn't follow any of that.
Well,
it's completely original.
What's great too is, I'm glad you mentioned that, is this is a Universal film. So it's made by, it's a Hollywood film. It's a big Hollywood film produced by Universal Studios. Despite all that, it's still very much a Korean story, and they didn't shy away from that. And it plays a really important part of sort of the background and kind of cultural setting that this film takes place in. And that's really, really refreshing to see. Like, you can't say at all that they sold out at all. Like, the director, you get a really good understanding that the director had a clear vision and he executed. And I love the Korean aspect of it in that sense. Like, the culture. I wish I spoke the language, because I know that I'm missing out on some of the nuances of the dialogue through the translations. Like, I know I'm missing out on stuff, but even with, just reading English subtitles, I feel like there was so much there.
A lot of the jokes, there's a lot of jokes in the movie between the characters.
Yeah.
And I laughed a lot at reading subtitles.
Me too.
Which is kind of weird, but they did a really good job of not like bombarding you.
Yeah.
With the subtitles. Like, they did a good job of allowing you to be able to read and know what's going on and watch the movie.
Yeah, like, you always had a good sense of context.
It wasn't like a hindrance
right
on watching the movie. If you read at like a decent level, whatever that is, 6th, 7th grade level, you could keep up with this movie no problem.
Right.
And I thought that I was worried about that at the beginning. I was like, is it going to be so? Because their hype about it was like, it's such a deep message.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I was like, well, is it going to be that deep to where there's that much dialogue that I can't watch the movie?
Yeah.
And I'm just reading the whole time. And it wasn't like that at all. It was deep, but it just, the pace of it was perfect with subtitles.
Yeah. And like, I touched on it a little bit, but even though I was, sitting there reading the subtitles, there's something really captivating about what's going on screen. And I mean, a lot of that has to do with the performances and the camera work, but there's something really engaging about the movie that I'm even kind of struggling to put my finger on now as I think about it, but never once was I taken out of it. Like, even with reading all of the subtext, it's really, I don't know, it's just really, really well done.
I was like I watched this on my home TV. I rented it, and I was like sitting on the edge of my couch.
Yeah.
from about an hour in, I was just like, oh man, this is so good. So intense. And that speaks a lot to how engaging a movie is.
Yeah, totally.
I didn't even like really notice at the beginning. And then I got a text on my phone and paused the movie real quick and realized that I was like not relaxed at all. I was like kind of wound up from how crazy the story is.
Yeah. And another thing I noticed too was I checked the runtime before the film started.
Yeah,
And I'm
me
like,
too.
Okay, this is a 2-hour plus film. And by the time you're in it, an hour and a half has already passed by. Like, no problem. You're just like, wow. And it went by so fast for me.
Yeah, I felt like the movie was quite long. It didn't fly by as quickly for me.
Okay.
Like, not that I was bored or anything.
Yeah.
But it was almost like a mental exercise
Okay.
of like staying engaged and reading, but trying to do the crap that I always do with like figure out the story beforehand,
Yeah.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so that in that aspect, it almost felt like the movie time was like slowing down
Oh, okay.
for me,
That makes sense.
you know?
Yeah.
I did pause the movie quite a few times and
Yeah.
just like thought for a little bit,
Okay, yeah,
which can't do in the theater. You can only really do that at your house.
yeah. Yeah.
But I wanted to really get it, and not that I had to pause and like rewind to read things, but like
Yeah.
it's pretty fast paced storyline. Like it progresses
yeah.
rapidly.
The pacing's really good. Like,
Yeah.
it never seems slow.
So I did take a few times to like digest everything
Mm-hmm.
and then be like, all right, what the hell's going to happen next? This is crazy.
Yeah. The only crappy thing about subtitles for me is that I really like to look at how the camera's moving, and sometimes like I was catching myself reading the dialogue real quick and then looking up to see what was going on with the camera.
Yeah.
But I mean, even with that, there's some pretty cool shots in the film. So let's touch a little bit on what I think makes this film so special, which is the overall story. This is how I would describe this movie. I'd say that it's a film about class struggle with a heist/hijacking element to it.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Did you get that too?
Totally. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Have you seen anything quite like this, or read anything, or watched anything quite like the story we got in this?
No, because it's quite endearing. The people that are committing the crimes,
Yeah.
you're rooting for them because they're poor,
Yeah, you totally understand.
but they're doing some shady shit.
Yeah.
But it really flips right and wrong
Yeah.
on its head,
Mm-hmm.
because like you said, it is a big class struggle
Yeah.
type of movie, and I thought they played that angle so well. Like within this one city, there is the haves and the have-nots,
Yeah.
and this movie is kind of a story of the have-nots
Yeah.
getting a bit of an upper hand,
Totally.
and then that gets completely flipped on its head.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've never seen a story like this in heist movies or hijack type movies, which this kind of is.
Yeah.
They're always like a group of badasses with each this crazy backstory.
Yeah.
And in this case, it's super endearing. They're like a really, poor family living in a semi-basement,
Yeah.
and that must be a thing
Yeah.
in
That's
in Korea.
what I was wondering.
It's like it's almost like an insult when the rich dad uses it at some point in the movie.
Okay.
Like kind of speaking down about lower class.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, maybe they smells like a semi-basement, and
Uh,
that's what they live in.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you're rooting for the family because they're really poor and they're down on their luck, but they're all really smart, and they might be criminals, but they're like, I don't know, they're really endearing criminals.
Yeah. It's there. What I like is the complexity of the issue. So, like you said, they are criminals because they're committing like these pretty serious crimes,
Fraud,
but you do
breaking and entering.
Yeah, you do root for them because they live in such crappy circumstances, in terms of their poverty level. And what I do like about it, though, is that I feel like the events that occur don't just kind of happen out of thin air. They're not just like handed to the family.
No, it's an opportunistic
Right. And
venture.
They come up with everything themselves. Like they're really, really, I'd call them genius. The way they're able to infiltrate into that, the rich family's house.
In an extremely 21st century way.
Totally,
too.
yeah. It's something I never would have thought of.
Yeah, like how the daughter is really good at Photoshop.
Yeah.
And she's forging all the, college degrees and
Yeah.
certifications.
Right.
and then the son is like a really gifted bullshitter, essentially.
Yeah.
And he kind of cooks up this whole plan, and then
Right,
the
right.
parents are just right on board. The
Yeah.
mom seems the least excited about what they're doing, even though she's ruthless too.
She's completely down for it though.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. Like you feel bad for them, but at the same time, they don't give a damn that they're committing these crimes. They're totally in on it. Like
Yeah.
they're like, screw you guys. We need to survive, and we're gonna do it this way.
Yeah, it's just they'd use the term, that's business.
Yeah.
And that's the way you have to look at it. It's like,
Yeah, totally.
that's the term in our country for committing crimes. Essentially, in capitalism, that's basically, it's like, he's a great businessman. It's like, oh, he got all his money that way. That's horrible. It's like, oh, but he's a great businessman.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what my take on them.
right.
It's like they're just hustling.
Yeah.
And this is the next hustle, and this one is lucrative.
Yeah. Man, and I loved how each member of the family was brought in, like in kind of a daisy chained kind of way. So it starts off with the son, played by Choi Woo-shik, and he's the first one to get in. But then from then on out, it's like a daisy chain. So like one member comes in, then they introduce the next member into the family, and it's like
Yeah, and they have to do pretty shady shit
yeah,
to get their next family member in.
right,
And we're just going to say the actors' real names in this episode because we're not Korean and we don't want to butcher a bunch of names. And also, every character in the movie has two names. They're playing themselves, and then they're also playing these characters that they cook up that do have different names.
yeah,
None of which we can probably pronounce properly, so we're just going to stick with the names
yeah.
of the actual actors.
And we're probably even butchering these a little bit, so apologies.
Preemptive apologies.
I'll talk really quick about the scene where she's in the car, and I'm talking about Park Sodam. She's in the car with the driver, and she starts like taking off her panties, and I'm like, what is she doing? Like, what is she coming up with here? And then when you learn and figure out she's basically trying to plant some dirt in there to get the driver fired to get her dad in, it's like a bunch of elements like that and little story details. It's almost not a stretch to say you have to be pretty genius to come up with something like that, like a scheme like that.
Yeah, and it's not without fault too, because it's not even a terribly convincing argument to the rich dad,
Right.
played by Lee Sung-gai.
Yeah.
He's like kind of clued in, like, it's weird, like why would you just leave your panties in the car? You would usually leave like an earring.
Yeah.
And to weave that,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
for people like me,
Uh-huh.
that would be like, why would that's not a realistic thing to
Yeah,
do.
uh-huh.
They like totally slap people like me in the face. Like they thought of every little aspect
Yeah, yeah.
of this movie. It was so well thought out and so well written
Yeah.
that it's, I don't know.
You're still kind of processing it?
Not processing like the overall arc of the story,
Yeah.
but more really just impressed that somebody cooked this up.
Yeah, it's really
It
smart
almost-
writing.
Yeah, it almost seems like maybe this happened. Like this was a news story. I don't know. It feels like it's
Yeah, I don't know.
if they just cooked this up out of thin air, like hats off, because it is like the most original story. The basic premise is, the poor family, weasels their way into being all the help for
Yeah.
this rich family.
They infiltrate the upper class that way.
Yeah, and they're getting a taste of the good life.
Yeah.
And then it all goes awry
Yeah.
really badly. But it almost feels like a news story to me. Like, how you see
Yeah.
news stories, like, how is that even?
Possible.
Yeah, how is that even real?
And it's probably coming out of Florida.
Yeah.
Something like
Yeah. Florida man.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly like that.
Uh-huh.
It's like for somebody to think this up and write this as well, it's just masterpiece.
Let me ask you this, because I know I'm going to forget. Do you feel like the title of the film, Parasite, is fitting.
That's the deepest
Yeah.
probably metaphor of the movie
Mm-hmm.
because the parasite is money,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
That's my take on it.
Yeah. That's a good
Right?
point.
Or capitalism, money in general,
Yeah.
vanity is the parasite.
I think that totally works in the way you're explaining that. For me, it even touches on other aspects too. It's like a multi-layered title. So I took it as like the lower class family is a parasite to the upper class family because they've weaseled their way in. They're taking their pay. They don't really. They're not like the daughter is not an actual artist, but she makes herself out to be one. So they're
Our teacher therapist.
yeah, exactly. So they're stealing money from the wallets of the rich, and at the same time, you see that the wealthy people are exploiting their workers, and it's kind of like a back and forth thing. The parasite metaphor for me works on all kinds of different levels, including to what you just laid out.
Well, and also it works on the level of like the rich people are blinded by their richness. And
Yes.
that's like a parasite in their brain
Yep, yeah.
too, right?
Absolutely.
You know, they're so oblivious and so hyper trusting
Yeah.
to bullshit
Yeah.
that's like because the homie when he comes in the earlier in the movie and offers Chobu Sheik
Uh-huh.
the job
Yeah.
to go be, he says he's like, oh, the mom's real simple, like she doesn't really know what's going on.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And that speaks to me the overall like money
Yeah.
kind of aspect of it.
Yeah. Kind of like this naive thing going on with them.
Or yeah, it's just like the amount people will go to
Mm-hmm.
to live to what they think is
Yeah.
a great life.
Yeah.
But the married couple, they don't seem terribly happy.
No.
I don't know.
And
It's-
then on top of all that, you have someone in the basement.
yeah, the other parasite.
Yeah. There's all kinds of parasites in this movie.
I love the whole bunker aspect of it.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Oh, do you think that's an actual thing?
Probably.
Because they
I bet
explain
a
it like
ton of the movie is really specific to Korea.
it's
'cause
essentially like a bomb shelter, right?
they mention the 38th parallel.
Yeah.
You know, there's a scene in the movie where Jang Hae Jin is impersonating Kim Jong Un, is
Yeah.
it? And then there's this massive concrete bunker underneath this rich mansion,
Yeah.
you know, for in case if North Korea launches a nuclear assault. And there's a dude that's been living in there for, what is it, like 3 years?
Yeah.
Or something like that?
And the current family that lives in the house doesn't even know it's there.
Yeah. I bet that's, like, I bet a lot of the texture of
Yeah.
the movie, that deep
Mm-hmm.
stuff, I bet is really accurate to Korea.
Yeah.
I bet it is.
Yeah. Man. I know. And one thing I will say too is that I have a cousin that's really into Korean culture, and he's really into K-pop and Korean dramas. So I've watched, a few shows here or there, and I've watched a few movies. And one thing I really liked about this film that was different from at least what I've been exposed to is I loved how from the very beginning, when you see the living conditions of the lower class family, you really get into their basement, and like their Wi-Fi's turned off because they changed the password upstairs so they can't get in on Wi-Fi. They have like a bug infestation problem.
Stink bug.
Stink bugs, that's right. And so at one point there's like a truck fumigating outside, and the dad is like, "Leave the windows open so they can fumigate in here."
Yeah, that kind of stuff is really heavy.
Yeah, and at least from what I've seen, like the kind of Korean dramas and shows that I've seen, you never see that side of Korea.
Everything is always presented as perfect.
Everything's
and
very pristine, very beautiful to look at. It's like all the nicest parts of the cities. So that was kind of refreshing and something that I've never seen before. But that's not a whole lot of Korean film I've seen, though.
I don't know much about Korea at all. I'd love to visit there.
Yeah.
One day. I watched a lot of the previous Winter Olympics, and it looked freaking gorgeous.
Yeah.
My father's been there quite a few times,
Mm-hmm.
and he said it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And the language is beautiful for someone that doesn't speak Korean and having to read the movie,
Yeah.
still listening to the speech is beautiful. It's a beautiful language. Like
Yeah.
the cadence is so much different than English.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
really
man.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, totally. Let me ask you this about the story. At least for me, I felt like at least the first half to maybe the first 3/4 of the film, I felt like I was being set up for something. And then once the end happened and we get to the real kind of shocker of the film, I was thrown for a loop completely. Like, let's just say when the film ended, is that what you were expecting to get before you sat in to watch it?
So the shocker for me didn't come at the end.
Okay.
The very climax of the movie, I was quite certain of
Yeah.
what was going to happen.
Okay.
Once the shit had hit the fan.
Uh-huh.
Well, the real shocker for me was when they find the dude in the basement
Oh, okay.
with the previous housekeeper.
Mm-hmm.
That part totally threw me off.
Yeah.
And then the whole movie takes like this wild turn
Mm-hmm.
in another direction.
Yeah.
And after that initial major plot twist,
Uh-huh.
what I thought was going to happen, I thought they were just going to kill the whole family and
Oh.
become them.
Oh, I see. I see what you're talking
You
about.
see what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like
yeah, yeah.
I thought they were going to pull like the ultimate
Yeah.
con move,
Uh-huh.
you know,
Yeah.
and just take over the house. Because
Mhm.
there's like a shot. It was in one of like the really short trailers where Kang Ho's song
Mm-hmm.
is like standing in a suit out on the lawn of the rich mansion
Yeah.
from the trailer. I remember seeing that.
Okay.
And he's like looking around the property
Mhm.
in the trailer or poster or whatever the hell it is that I saw.
Yeah.
So I thought halfway through the movie, I was like, oh, they're going to, shit's going to hit the fan and they're going to have to kill this whole family. And then they're just going to like take their place
Yeah.
and like just never leave the house.
Oh shit.
That's where I thought the movie was going.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's pretty cool. But then the way the story actually plays out is fantastic too. And very symmetrical,
Yeah.
like insanely symmetrical with the guy stuck in the basement
Mm-hmm.
and the conditions, the life conditions that put him there
Yeah.
are the same conditions that put the family in the position to
Right.
try and weasel their way in
Yeah.
and take over.
Yeah.
That's like a big message. And then the very end of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
how homeboy is stuck basically in the same situation.
Yeah.
Like that's
That's great writing. That's what that is.
fantastic. It's completely fantastic writing.
Yeah.
And it highlights how smart they all were too.
Oh yeah. Like I said, I don't think it's a stretch to call the people in the family like geniuses.
Totally.
Oh my god. I could never have cooked this scheme. And they're all like very sharp. But what I will say is that even after watching trailers, I had no idea what this movie was about.
Yeah, I think I just watched one
Yeah.
and was like, okay, I'm just going to let that marinate because
Mhm.
I didn't really get much from it.
Yeah, I saw a couple. And even like midway through the film, I had no idea where the story was going to go. So when it made the turn and you do discover someone in the basement, that's when I was like, okay, something's going on here. But then once you actually get to like the party that they have at the end and you get them like the characters locked up in the basement, that's when I was like, okay, wow, this is going somewhere I completely didn't expect to go. And I loved how at the end, once Kang Ho Sung gets the knife out and wait, does he have the I can't remember now. Does he have the knife or does he take it out of the hand of the other character? Park Myung-hoon.
I can't remember exactly. I think he takes it out of his hand.
Okay.
Or does he take it out of his... We're going to give all kinds of shit away.
Well, this film's been out.
I can't remember how he gets the knife. It's not important.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, we don't want to give every little thing away.
Yeah, but okay, I'll just say when that moment happens, that's when like the class struggle aspect of the film really pays off. Because
Yeah.
you're like, man, you totally understand why he does what he does in that moment. And it's sort of like all this pressure that's built up finally gets released into this one action. And that was really cool. And
Yeah,
really,
he's-
really, really brilliant writing. Like,
And the subtle insult of the smell is what really
yeah.
puts him off more than
Mhm.
everything else.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
he can sense that the way rich people look down on poor people.
Yeah.
And yeah, that I expected that, like when he
Mhm.
picks up the knife and you think that's made to make you think he's going to kill
Yeah.
the other guy,
Mm-hmm.
Park Myung-hoon,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't expect him at all. I was like, "Oh, he's going right." What I was kind of hoping for was he had that tomahawk, and I was thinking he was gonna throw it
Uh-huh.
and take out the attacker,
Yeah.
all gangster like. But he has this interesting, like almost because the wife says it at some point in the movie that he's kind of a coward, and he almost has like this overwhelming moment of frozen cowardice
Yeah.
broken out of
Mm-hmm.
in a rage of bloodthirsty murder,
Yeah.
which is kind of like a triumph for him, even though it's kind of like, it's a tragic thing
Yeah.
and he's committing murder,
Mm-hmm.
but you get it.
Yeah.
You totally get it. Because it's not just that guy,
No.
it's the whole thing. It's the whole system of the haves and have-nots. And he did a great job of the whole part when they have there's a bit of a climate change message in the movie with the whole flooding episode that happens.
Oh, yeah.
And when they're sitting in the shelter,
Uh-huh.
like you can see the pain,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the poorness pain on his face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's man. The writing of this movie was so good.
It is so good.
And I didn't even think about sort of the 360 of the film with Kang Ho Sung being locked up at the end in the same exact way.
Yeah.
It's it's like this whole cycle.
Yeah, it's like, okay, he has to it's really it's insanely good writing.
Yeah.
So there's a point in the movie where he tells his son, don't have a plan. You just do whatever you got to do
Yeah.
at all times. Doesn't matter if you kill someone, doesn't matter if you steal, whatever it is you have to do.
Mhm.
And he's like, everybody in this room, it's in the shelter.
Yeah.
It's like everybody in this room had a plan, and now look at all of us,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then that mirrors exactly with why the initial guy is stuck in the basement. He's like just swamped in debt, completely beaten down by capitalism, essentially.
Yeah.
That he has to do whatever he has to do. Same thing, you know? It's like he's there because of debt, and Mr. Kim's there because he murdered someone.
Yeah.
And he can't, it's like they both have to hide completely.
Mm-hmm.
One's hiding from loan sharks, one's hiding from the cops.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of the same root cause. To me, that's what I take from the movie is like it's the money. And
Yeah.
that's the parasite on society. That's kind of the message I got from the movie. I don't know if I'm way off base
I'm with you
or
there.
reading too much, but it's just everything wraps up so good.
Another piece of good writing is there's a lot of like little moments that are planted in the beginning that have payoffs at the end.
Yeah.
And you do have to kind of go back and really think about them. But one that comes to mind is in the beginning when Choi Woo-shik's character, he receives from his college friend that rock. It's I don't know, it's like a decorative piece almost.
It's a rock.
It's basically a rock. And I think he makes a comment like, "Oh, this is so metaphorical. Like, it's supposed to bring good luck or something." And the father's like, this will be like a good omen for us, essentially. Something that'll, it's something good for us. That happens to be the same rock that takes him out at the end, and gets dropped on his head. It's like, man, the way this was written, it had to be been done in like one of those crazy rooms with a bunch of pin flags and stuff and pieces of yarn and just connecting all kinds of little dots together. Everything was wrapped up so nicely at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, and the whole Morse code aspect,
Yeah.
just again demonstrating
Mm-hmm.
the intelligence of them
Yeah.
and how, yeah, it really plays with morality a lot and right and wrong a lot.
Yeah.
The movie, because you're essentially rooting for the villains the whole movie,
Yeah.
and you're happy. You're kind of happy at the end of the movie,
Yeah.
even though it's, I don't know.
That's where this film is very similar to Jojo Rabbit, where it's not just on top of a good story, there's actually something of substance that the film's trying to say.
Yeah.
And it's the same deal with Jojo Rabbit. Like, these films are trying to say something. And that's always the mark of a good director, a great story. And I think one of the reasons why film can be so powerful and effective is when you have stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the more we dive into it, the more, I mean, there's just, you can't poke any holes in it.
I feel like I just raised my score up like another half points.
You
like
can't, you just can't poke any holes in the story. You know, you could have gone different ways
Yeah.
with the movie, but you can't poke any holes in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's perfect. There's the right amount of consequence. There's the right amount of symmetry. There's the right amount of violence.
Yeah.
There's the right amount of comedy.
Yes.
You know, there are funny parts of the movie.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, hats off.
Yeah. We'll get into some of the little intricacies of some of the comedy too, but I want to ask you, this movie's filled with really great characters. And I mean, all around, there's some really, really interesting and enjoyable characters to watch. And the family in particular, did you have like a favorite character in the film? Someone that really kind of stuck out to you that you enjoyed?
He wasn't in the movie a bunch,
Uh-huh.
but Park Myung-hoon,
Okay.
he was probably my favorite character. Like when they first discover him
Yeah.
and he's doing his smashing his head up against blinking the lights and shit.
Yeah.
And then he's like yelling out to the leader of the house, "Respect!"
Yeah.
Like I thought that was so funny
Yeah.
that he was like grateful to the rich guy who had no clue he was living in his bunker under his house. I thought his character was extremely funny
Yeah.
and tragic at the same time.
Uh-huh.
And then just goes completely ballistic at the end of the movie. I just love that.
Yeah.
I love how he's got blood all over his face from smashing his head against the thing when he was all tied up. You know, I love that he's just completely lost it.
Man, he creeped me out.
Yeah.
Like, I was scared.
Yeah.
And the scene where you have the young kid.
Dasong? Is that his name?
Yeah, the young kid, Dasong. When it flashes back and you understand what really bothered him is that visual he got when he peeks out from the basement. He just, oh my gosh, that was creepy as hell.
Think about how traumatizing that would be to a little boy
Yeah,
to actually see
right.
some crazy old man sneaking up into the kitchen at night to
Yeah,
steal some food.
and he doesn't look nice.
Yeah, he's like a bald dude.
He
He's
looks
like,
crazy.
Hasn't seen the sun in years.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And that's like very minuscule compared to the trauma that comes later.
Yes.
Because it happens right in front of him at the end.
Quite the birthday party.
Yeah, quite the birthday party. I wouldn't even call this film doesn't have a main character.
No.
It's very much an ensemble cast.
Yeah. Probably Kang Ho Song
Yeah,
is
the closest thing.
the closest thing to the main character,
Yeah,
but he's not super patriarchal. Like he's trying to be a good father,
no.
but he's also like kind of the worst.
Yeah, well, here's
Him and the mom aren't that great at acting, you know?
Mm-hmm. He was my
Not
favorite
acting
character.
in real life, but they're pretending to be acting
Yeah.
in the movie.
Yeah. He was my favorite character in the whole film.
Yeah, I liked him a lot too.
Like, I felt like he was very complicated in terms of how the character was written. So in the beginning, you almost get the sense that he's like the calm, steady, level-headed one out of the family. Like at least that's how I took it when I first came across him in the beginning. And then you realize like, yeah, he's all for like, getting an upper hand and advancing if you can, like whatever you can do to survive. And then he kind of almost, what's the word I'm looking for? He influences the rest of his family to like go further and to do more and to further the, what would you call it? Extortion?
The con.
Yeah. Like to further that and to go even deeper. And then it kind of bites him in the ass at the end.
I get what you're saying there.
Yeah.
I was getting that same vibe
Uh-huh.
from him. Like once they're all kind of got their in,
Yeah.
and they're in, I was like, oh, when she mentions him being a coward,
Mm-hmm.
and he knocks all the shit off the table,
Yeah.
all the booze, and I love that they like get smashed together as a family.
Yeah.
Like that's a really
There's a bunch of little
kind of
moments
wholesome, wholesome thing, drinking other people's booze, living
Yeah.
in their house,
like that. Uh-huh.
but they're just like living it up. But when he did that, that's when I kind of thought in my brain, like, oh, he's gonna just kill the whole family, and that's gonna be his
to prove a point.
to prove a point to his wife that he's not a coward. He's gonna
Yeah.
do this.
I get you.
That's where I thought it was going at that point in the movie. And then right then, everything gets flipped on his head because the old housekeeper comes to the thing, and then to the video
That
doorbell.
screws everything up.
It just throws everything. And that's what I loved about this movie the most. Is like I was trying to be smart about it and predict what's gonna happen,
Yeah.
and it slapped me in the face. And I dig that.
And for you, that's saying a lot, I think, because I think you're pretty perceptive when it comes to stuff like that.
I probably
If you haven't listened to our Invisible Man episode.
I don't know, maybe I pay too much attention and I don't just go with it too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, anytime there's something like blatant,
Uh-huh.
it'll ruin a movie for me.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Was there a particular, we'll call it a con, but was there a particular con scheme that you liked the most out of the ones that they devised?
Yeah, I mean the peach fuzz on the maid was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And then to link it to tuberculosis
my
and all
gosh.
the hot sauce
Yeah.
on the napkin, like that's fucking genius.
That's hilarious, too, because when we first see it, they're putting it on pizza.
Yeah.
Like, that looks a lot like blood.
Yeah, just the littlest things like that. Holy shit, you know? Like, literally, what is that? Maybe 10, 12 minutes
Yeah.
before
Uh-huh.
that?
And it's like 3 seconds maybe.
Yeah, showing
2 seconds.
the resourcefulness of
Yeah.
the poor dudes. Like, yeah. Fuck, the more we talk about it, the better it gets.
And if, like when we say poor dudes, I mean I almost put myself like closer to their circumstances than anyone in the upper class. So
Yeah, I'm in the fake middle.
yeah, the non-existent middle.
I'm in the pretend middle.
You're in the lower middle.
I'm gonna be the guy in the basement in a few years. That's the way
man.
I'll put it.
Yeah. I'm right there with you.
Who was your favorite? Probably female character, because there's a lot of great female performances in this
Oh
movie.
man, my favorite had to be Park Sodam. Like I loved how she was so sarcastic, and like she seemed to be the one that gave the fewest fucks of any of the family members. And I liked, to me, she was like the smartest.
Yeah,
Like the way she was able to ad lib like all of her bullshit when she's selling herself as this, the artist and the tutor and the psychology background. Like, man,
from Illinois.
Yeah.
She went to Illinois.
she's like so brilliant, like at coming up with that stuff all on the fly. And then the way she plays it off, like even when her mom is in the house as the maid, she's like, please knock before you enter and close the door on your way out. Like she's totally invested into this persona that she's built.
Yeah.
And I thought she was awesome.
She was awesome, and her character also has a really nice evolution because she seems to be the most remorseful of the whole family when
Yeah.
the shit hits the fan. Mm-hmm. And sadly, she's the one that gets it.
Yeah, and she says something, right? As he's like trying to stop the bleeding.
I don't know.
And I think it's
I don't know if I caught that.
Yeah, she says something.
I was like pretty worked up at that part of the movie.
Essentially what she says almost is like, no, just let it go. Like, I deserve this.
Yeah.
She says something like that.
Yeah, really heavy. Like when they're running home, you know, after getting themselves out of the situation.
Yeah.
But at the same time making it way worse.
Yeah.
And when they're running home, she's like, what are we going to do? You know, like our plans to shit, you know?
Yeah.
It's like she seems in the beginning to be the most gung-ho and the most badass, and then that totally gets flipped, and she's like the most remorseful after she knows they fucked up.
And that's another testament to the writing, is that none of the characters come across as like one-dimensional. They all have an arc, and they all have layers to them, and that's really hard to do when there's no main character. To do that with every single one of them, I felt like every one of them had an arc.
Yeah.
And was really well developed. What about you? Was there a female character that you were drawn to, or?
I really liked Cho Yo Jung.
Yeah.
The wife. Mm-hmm. The rich wife.
Yeah.
I thought she played that role awesome.
Yeah.
You know, like she's extremely good-hearted. Yeah. But at the same time, she's like that sleazy rich person.
Yeah. But she doesn't know that she is.
She doesn't. That's she's blinded by the vanity. Yeah. Completely. They have like these insane highs and lows of emotional range. Right. Like some of the crying scenes that she has, and then she's like, "Oh, my husband's home. Like, I gotta get my shit together." You know, like those are some really good acting. Mm-hmm. And she's gorgeous, by the way, too.
Yeah, really great performances across the board. One thing I will say is like the scene with the driver with the planted underwear. Yeah. In there, like, and maybe I don't know if it's just because I don't know if I'm hardened by this, like in our crazy American culture or whatnot, but that was a big deal. Like when the father discovers the underwear in the car, he's like, I found these. And it was like this really heavy, absolutely blasphemous situation to have that going on with his driver in his car. Like,
in America, it almost be like
we brush that off. It's like, of course that happens.
High five. Yeah, you nailed it. Sweet, dude. How was it?
I mean, I thought the same exact thing when I was watching it. I was like, man, if I was him, I would go out and high five the driver and give him like a raise.
That's funny.
But yeah, that's like, I think that's where the cultural differences come in.
Did you catch a lot of the little American things in the movie? Like just the little things like, oh, she went to, like every time they make up a university or whatever, it's from America somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Like, and then there's the part in the movie where he asks if the tent will leak when Da Sung is sleeping in his Indian tent outside.
She's like, no, I got it from...
Yeah, she's like, no, it shouldn't. I bought it from America. Like, did you catch? There's quite a few little things like that in the movie.
Yeah, that's a load of crap.
Well, no, but no, I think it's funny on a level of like they put America on this pedestal of the shining beacon of capitalism type thing. That's kind of like what I got from it.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that. Yeah, that I guess I did catch that a little bit.
Yeah, it's really sharp.
Man, yeah. I feel like we're just going to be saying that this whole time. Like I could sit here and just say that for 30 minutes. Yeah. And not hit.
Any other characters you really liked?
Let's see.
I got a question for you.
Let's just say there wasn't a character I disliked.
Yeah. What's your take on the whole statutory rape thing in the movie? That kind of made me uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah,
like how old is the son, the poor son?
I mean, I got the 19. That he's over
18, 19, something like that.
Like his
friends,
and
the daughter's like right there too.
Yeah,
she's like 17, maybe. Yeah, 17, 18. And then that girl was like what, like fucking
16.
Oh, like really?
She's definitely, because he makes a point to say like
I thought she was like quite a bit younger.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh man,
I thought she was like 12 or 13.
No, I don't think she was that young, but she was definitely underage.
Well, I know that she's definitely underage. I thought she was like way younger.
I don't think she was that young.
I was like, oh, that's not That's not that cool, but maybe I took that wrong.
Yeah. No, because I felt really uncomfortable with that too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is going on here? And then I think he does mention too, that he's like, once she gets into university, I'm going to ask her out officially. So that's why I took like maybe another 2 years, 2 or 3 years or something like that.
Okay.
But she's definitely underage.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a bit uncomfortable.
A bit uncomfortable.
It was a bit uncomfortable. And yeah, I don't really know the reasoning behind that.
Why you were uncomfortable or why they put it in there?
Why they put it in there. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's just like another layer, right?
Yeah.
It's a tiny bit of romance, but then like the family is
well, I
being
guess,
sleazy about it, and they're like, oh yeah, you're going to live in this house one day. And
yeah. I guess maybe to really sell that dynamic between like the tutor and the student, I think it works better that way maybe than it would if they were like the same age.
Okay.
I don't know. But yeah, off the top of my head, I can't really.
Well, maybe it works well too because they're kind of doing bad shit, kind of creeping the
Yeah.
whole time. So
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
we just work that out and it fits exactly. He's a creep, you know?
Yeah.
He's a con man.
The
I guess it fits.
the most lovable.
It still made me
sleazebags.
uncomfortable though.
Oh yeah,
And
super
I hope
uncomfortable.
in the script she's like 16. No younger, please. That makes me uncomfortable.
God, she is 13.
That's what I thought,
It's
man.
wrong.
Because she's super tiny.
Yeah.
She's got like a little kid's bed.
Yeah. Now I'm pretty sure she's like
All right.
around that age. Well, I gotta go back now.
I will definitely probably buy this movie.
Oh,
Just so I rented it for
Uh-huh.
$5.99, and
so it has some rewatch factor for you.
oh yeah, I'd like to watch it multiple times.
Wow.
To be honest,
That is high praise coming from you.
yeah, it's a great movie.
It's awesome.
The most original story I've ever seen.
Yeah, me too.
Jojo Rabbit was really original,
Mhm.
but it's kind of like a larger
Yeah.
historical story.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
this movie's very period. It's very perfect for right now.
Yeah, and there's so many little elements to the story. It's like a web if you think about it, but it always remains focused. And it always it remains focused throughout the whole film, which is why it pays off so big. And everything ties together at the end. And I think that's where the brilliance of this comes in.
And it's not necessarily a totally happy ending.
No.
Which I really appreciated too.
Well,
it's
that's the
kind of
thing,
a
though.
tragic ending in many ways.
Well, that's the thing though. It's not a happy ending, it's not a sad ending. It causes you to feel like a bunch of different emotions,
yeah,
which is what you want in a movie. Like those are the most interesting ones.
yeah.
Huh.
And it's like it's kind of the ending of the movie is almost like amoral, which kind of like
Yeah.
money is.
Uh-huh.
Money's kind of like nature. It's amoral. It's not good or bad. It's just do you have it or do you don't
Right.
kind of thing. And I
Mhm.
feel like that's the way the movie ends. There's a bunch of horrible shit that happens, but it's kind of
Yeah.
a bit of a happy ending.
And like how do you get the money and what do you do with it? It's like
Yeah.
that all very much plays into it.
Yeah. What do you think of the cinematography?
Let's just there's a bunch of scenes that stood out in the sense that not like because they were the craziest shots I ever saw, but in like general terms, I liked, at least to me, I liked how the camera wasn't very stationary. So even when you got shots of like the family just sitting around talking to each other, and you have a lot of like back and forth shots traditionally when you have two people talking or whatever, I liked how the director of photography chose to keep the camera moving. And to me, that made what could have been boring scenes a lot more watchable.
Okay, so
Even
like
in-
moving instead of cuts
Yeah.
in a lot of those scenes, like in the living room.
So like there's a lot of dialogue in the film, right? There's a lot of talking back and forth. And so like your standard Hollywood cookie cutter method of shooting that is like over the shoulder, you get character A's mouth moving and talking. Then cut to behind character A's shoulder to get character B. And it's just a back and forth. Whereas this one I thought was a lot more pleasing to look at because you'd have maybe the characters weren't even facing each other. They were sitting next to each other. But then they'd have one character saying something, then the camera would pan to the other character. And it was a very kind of fluid, natural movement without a lot of cutting. And I really liked that.
Yeah, like the scenes when they're in their semi-basement, all sitting around their little table on the floor.
Yeah.
And like one person will get up and walk,
Right.
up into the bathroom where their toilet's like up high.
Yeah.
And like how the camera just like followed people, but they were all talking back and forth.
Right.
It wasn't by any means every person that was saying something's words were on the screen. Like there were many times where, the dad was talking or something and the camera was on the son over here, and you had no problem figuring out who's talking still.
Mm-hmm.
I think they gave the audience a lot of credit in this movie to be able to follow along.
Oh yeah.
It's a ballsy movie. It's if you're not paying attention, when you watch this, no way.
They don't spoon feed you anything.
No,
Like you have to invest, and then it totally pays off at the end.
totally.
Another scene that sticks out in terms of cinematography was the whole basement
Yeah,
sequence. Like the camera goes down into the basement, and then it'll whip around corners, and that makes it really tense.
yeah,
Like especially during the chases down there.
yeah.
Oh my god! Like my pulse was racing during those scenes.
And running up and down the stairs.
Yeah.
And like the scene where the old maid gets kicked down the stairs and bashes her head.
Yeah.
They like did a great job of making that look insanely real. And I don't know if they showed it twice because I almost feel like I saw her hit the wall from two different angles.
Oh.
Like I almost feel like we saw it down the stairs and then you saw her hit the thing from the hallway.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Did they show both angles?
I think so. I think it was like a quick cut or something like that.
Yeah, because it is awesome shot movie. I loved all the flood scenes. I really liked those because they did the same type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The moving around camera stuff when they're in their house and there's water up to the chest.
Yeah.
And the daughter's on the toilet and it's freaking just spewing shit all over the place. Really driving home the conditions.
Yeah. Like that scene made me like sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
The way they shot it.
Yeah.
It looked really, really awful.
Super heavy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, that goes back to like, I like how they didn't pull any punches in terms of really driving home the poverty aspect of their living conditions.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't see a lot of that.
And the part where they're running through the city,
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed how some of those shots were like really far away.
Oh yeah.
And you got to see these big wide angles of the actual city that they shot in.
Yeah.
Wherever that is looks awesome.
Yeah.
I love cities that have tons of hills.
Oh,
okay. I like them way more than flat cities.
Yeah.
They just look much prettier.
You had a pretty strong opinion about score on the last film.
Yeah, this movie, the score was great. It was like quirky. There was like some weird.
It was very
almost like,
elegant sounding in the beginning with the piano.
And almost like Tom and Jerry.
Yeah.
Kind of vibe in a lot of the movie.
Mm-hmm. Like I felt like you got that sense of the class through the music.
Yeah.
With like the way the music was written. It felt very, very sort of grand and posh.
Nothing seemed too much.
No.
It all seemed really, really perfect.
Yeah. In terms of the class element, that infiltrated everything in this movie. It infiltrated the dialogue, the story overall, and then it creeps itself into the music too. And I felt like, again, that's a credit to the screenwriters and the director. Like they had a clear vision of what this film was about. And this seems like something that would be obvious that every director should strive for, but I guess it's the few of them that are able to actually pull it off. And like the score is just another element to that, like how everything weaves in together so well.
Yeah, there's little things throughout the movie music wise that really enhanced, because there's like this strange suspense throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
And I thought the music did a really good job of not being over the top with the type of suspense they were trying to convey.
Yeah.
But being perfect.
Uh-huh.
Like I feel like in my memory there's lots of like bump, 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 like little orchestral things.
Yeah. Like see, to me that came off as really, really posh.
Okay.
Like really kind of elegant. And at one point I think there was a harpsichord, like just playing a little dinger in there, and that's something that goes back to like very ritzy European like Renaissance music, you know?
Yeah.
And that's where that class comes in, even through the score. So yeah, for me, it was really, really effective. So that's good. No major gripes on score from you on this one.
No. It was right where it needed to be.
Yeah. Awesome.
And it was fun at times too.
Yeah.
Cuz like again, you're
That's the thing.
you're rooting for them
Yeah.
even though they're doing some shady shit.
Uh-huh. It's really weird. Like, this film has a lot to say. It has a very, very strong message about very heavy topics that are relevant. But at the same time, I never got the sense that the film took itself too seriously.
Totally. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. And that's what makes it enjoyable to watch. Like, if we were to tell anyone that, like, this film is about class struggle and it's about exploiting the lower classes and it has to do with elements of capitalism and money and greed, who wants to watch that?
Yeah.
But then you get into the movie and it has a really, really enjoyable watch factor to it. And I think that's why, is because it doesn't take itself too seriously.
Yeah.
But it all works and you still get that message across.
You get the message across, and beyond the deep side of it, the message, the heart of the story, the actual plot is amazing.
Yeah.
You know, that's going to catch you off guard even if you're not interested in the deep message.
Right.
The actual construction of the whole movie is perfect. Like, and something that you probably won't expect at all.
Yeah.
Totally unique and original and cool, which makes me again think that there was like a news story, you know, that this family weaseled their way in and some blah, blah, blah. And somebody saw that and was like, damn, had a great idea, you know, and worked it out.
Based on true events in a Florida town. Well, let me ask you, let's get into the love and hates. So what did you got going for you, your love and hate?
What I loved about the movie the most was the major twist in the middle.
Okay.
Completely out of left field.
Yeah.
You know, like you had the sense that the old maid was up to something when she came back to the house.
Yeah.
But to go down and the dude in there, you know, basically what would he be? The linchpin of the movie, essentially, doesn't get revealed until like an hour and 40 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
Right? That's because
that's about right.
That's the one thing I was thinking. I was like, where is this going? Because it took quite a while before anything really to go awry. Right?
Yeah.
In the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I really loved that when the major plot twist hits you, it's not anything that you thought. It was completely different. And then that guy is like the complete catalyst for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that part of the movie was what I loved the most. I didn't hate anything about the movie.
Yeah.
You know, maybe
it's hard to hate.
It's hard to hate in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I can't hate on the acting in any way because I'm not sure in whole other languages how well you can tell.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Totally, yeah.
And I was completely invested. Obviously, I've never seen any of these actors in anything before.
Right. And
they were all completely believable in their roles.
Yeah.
And completely entertaining. And I loved how you kind of root for almost every single character in the movie.
Yeah.
Even though they're doing bad shit.
Uh-huh. Yeah, there's nothing inherently evil with any of the characters. Like, you get a sense of why they're motivated to do what they do.
You get the duality, you know, of all of it. That's what I love. What do you love about the movie?
For me, I'm going to zoom out a little bit and just go bigger picture, but I love the originality of the story.
Okay.
Like, to get an original story that's this well crafted, that has all of these pieces that get tied up so well at the end and have so much meaning and never getting distracted at all. It always has a really hyper-focused plot going for it. I love that. You don't see that very often today anymore. And it is true, there are a lot of sequels out there, and there are a lot of like comic book movies and big action films, but to get a film like this that's so unique and so new and like refreshing, it's really, really, really nice to see. So that's an absolute love for me. And then I actually will pick out a hate.
All right.
And it has nothing to do with the film, actually. It's just all to do with me, and that I hate the fact that I don't speak Korean.
All right.
Because I know...
Same here, man.
I know like there's little details in there with dialogue that we're missing out on because we're getting a translated version of what's being spoken and what's being said. And it really sucks.
Go learn Korean.
There's my goal. That'll be my New Year's resolution.
That's lofty, bro. The time to learn languages is when you're
the time to learn languages
have a fresh brain.
It's 15 years ago.
Or even more than that. It's like single digits is the
yeah.
time to learn multiple languages. I mean, you
I'm
can
old
obviously do it.
Yeah,
but
you're right.
you do work a full-time job. Just think of it that way, you know?
Yeah, so that's my hate.
Korean's a beautiful language, and I'll watch plenty of Korean movies from now on. This is the first one I've seen.
Oh, I am looking forward
And I
to
want to visit that country. It's definitely on the list.
Bong Joon-ho, you are on my watch list. I'm so curious to see what your next project is. Yeah, man, this movie's great.
Yeah, I know what your rating is. You know what my rating is.
Yeah.
We have to.
All right, so I'll just go first then. This gets 5 buckets of popcorn for me. Is like I said, for all the reasons we spent the last hour talking about. It's got everything you want in a film. It has something to say. Great performances. It's well directed. It won Best Picture, and I totally understand why. Jojo Rabbit may be my favorite film of last year, but this film was totally deserving of the award. So 5 buckets of popcorn for me.
I give it 5 bong loads, obviously, because it's perfect. It's completely unique and original. Every little bit of the movie lines up. Nothing in the movie is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like even all the violence.
Yeah.
Like all the violence in the movie is really brutal
and
real looking.
Yeah.
So yeah, it gets 5. I was on some Tangerine Dream from Barney's Farm, Grow by Me, on this, watching this movie, and it was maybe a little too high strung. It's like mostly sativa, and my heart was jamming through this movie. Like I said, I was on the edge of my couch in my living room, and it's that good a movie. I ain't giving out any more 5s this year. Unless they warrant it. But, I mean, to give out...
These are recorded.
To give out 3.
Yeah.
1917, Jojo Rabbit, and this, Parasite.
We'll talk about 2019 for film. Like, man, we got some really great ones.
Yeah, they're all great movies. I would have split it between Parasite and Jojo. I can see 1917 falling out if that wins Best Cinematography.
Yeah.
You know, but both these movies are insanely good. Just split it.
All right. Give half an Oscar.
Some goes to New Zealand, half goes to New Zealand, half goes to Korea.
Oh, man.
No, fuck that. Each give them one. How about that? No, it was
We're
great.
generous here.
Great movie.
Yeah. Well,
Lived up to the hype.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, we'd recommend this. Go out, catch it. It's streaming now. It's worth the money to buy it. I mean,
I want to watch it multiple times, so
yeah.
I'm buying it.
And you'll go back and pick up on things you didn't catch the first time. It's one of those movies.
Yeah, it's a good movie to, like, if you have someone staying at your house and they're like just lying around and you're like, you've never seen this, you should watch this, then you get to watch it again.
Yeah. So
I'd like to watch this movie multiple times.
Me too. Well, thanks guys for joining us here on episode 12. I'm Drew with El Toddo, and we will catch you guys on the next one.
Peace.